Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another Walking Dead character video. Today we will be looking at a family, that being the Colemans, a family that were living in Woodbury in Season 3. Now I've already covered Michael Coleman in a previous video a while ago, probably should have combined them, but whatever. But today anyway, we're going to be looking at the rest of his family, his wife Betty Coleman, and their children, Emily Coleman and Michael Coleman Jr. Now, Michael Coleman Jr. never directly appears. It's possible to speculate on which extra he possibly could be, but because there is no clear indication, I'm just going to leave off doing that. We can cover all the extras in a later episode. Now, of course, Betty is of course female. She is played by Debbie Het Kimsey. She is late 60s to early 70s and first appeared via a photograph in When the Dead Come Knocking. Emily is of course female. She is played by an unknown actress. Shock. She is late 20s to early 30s and first appeared in Say the Word. Michael Coleman Jr. is possibly either late 20s to early 40s and does not directly appear. Before the outbreak, Betty met Michael, fell in love, married and had 2 kids. They all lived as a family, but at some point before the outbreak began, sadly the family learnt that Michael was diagnosed with prostate cancer. When the outbreak began, the family, likely being close to Woodbury, fled there, joining the community. The family learnt that Michael was getting along with Milton, listening to music and stuff, and he agreed to be used as an experiment to see what walkers remember when they reanimate, as of course his cancer had sadly spread and he was dying. In Season 3, Emily first appears when attending the Woodbury barbecue. She is seen listening to the governor's speech and raises her glass to the community. After the speech, Emily is seen sat at a bench with some guy, maybe she's on a date, and she waves as another woman walks over. Both Betty and Emily appear in photos when Milton goes through his procedures with Michael Coleman. Michael Coleman Jr. is of course mentioned here by Milton too. Milton does say your children were Emily and Michael Coleman Jr., were implying that they're dead, but we know Emily isn't, so I don't know. Maybe Jr. isn't around anymore, or maybe Milton meant were because he's going to be asking these questions to a Walker Coleman eventually. Although, that is the last time we see Emily, so there is a chance that Emily died between this episode and Say the Word. What of? Who knows? Maybe she choked on a barbecue rib. Who knows? Later, when Michael Coleman reanimates, we see the same 2 pictures again of both Betty and Emily. Now after this, it can be assumed that the family buried poor Michael Coleman, okay? They buried the patriarch. They were sad. They cried. Who knows? We first see Betty in the flesh after the attack on Woodbury, where she gathers to the arena and listens to the governor's speech, and the revelation that Merle betrayed the group and helped his terrorist brother. Shock. Betty demands the death of the brothers, chanting, "Kill them!" with the rest of the residents. Daryl is freed and the governor declares a fight to the death. She watches the brothers fight and then team up. A walker gets thrown to where Betty was standing, but I can't see her reaction, so she probably just screamed like the others and got out of the way. And when gunfire starts, as Rick comes to the Dixon brothers' rescue, Betty flees the arena and the walkers within it. The next morning, Betty is among the residents to gather at the gate with the intention to leave the community. Emily isn't there, so I guess she's abandoning Emily, lol. Or maybe, like I said, Emily's dead. Some commotion happens as Martinez gets mad, but it's disrupted by Richard Foster's screams. Betty sees Richard Foster dying after he was attacked by walkers. She's in shock, I say, and then she watches the governor straight up just execute Richard. Betty then gathers outside the governor's apartment and listens to Milton and then Andrea's update/speech, and then Andrea's words move Betty like they do with the others, so she decides to stop protesting and remain in Woodbury. That, though, is the last we see of Betty Coleman. Now, all 3, Emily, Betty, and Michael Coleman Jr., all likely died during the governor's failed attack on the prison. They either died when they arrived at the prison and were ambushed within the tombs by Rick and Michonne, or alternatively, they were gunned down by the governor when they fled from the prison battle. Or maybe they just died in some other way after the events of Season 3. I'm still down for the theory that Emily choked on that barbecue rib, okay? During the barbecue, whenever, right? That's how she went. Maybe the guy she was on the date with, right? He told a joke that was so good. She was laughing. She choked. R.I.P. Then Michael Coleman was like, Milton, sign me up to your weird Walker experiment thing, okay? My daughter dead. And my son dead, all right? And my theory is that Michael Jr., okay, he was already dead. Okay, that's my canon. Either way, R.I.P. Emily Coleman, Michael Coleman Jr., and Betty Coleman. The Coleman family were just extras and a little fleshed out backstory for Michael Coleman. They didn't really serve much purpose other than that, but it's sad that my boy Michael Coleman's family was just wiped out. Damn. First prostate cancer, and now this. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Betty, Emily, and Michael Jr., and let's spin that wheel. Eel. I'm going to add some more names next episode, but let's see who will be the next character profile. So, the next profile will be... Colton from the Kingdom.